Peace. Man. Man. Happy now. Now is the vibrate. The rate at which we're vibing. Me nah go too far in the future. Me nah go too far in the past. Right now. Blessings, y'all. Blessings happen now. Now the vibrating, all that good stuff. Right now, we're gonna talk about how our guardians, how our parents create our shadow self. Not to a certain extent, our shadow self is somewhat shaped through lifetimes, but it's safe to say through lifetimes we probably had some type of parental guidance, that again brought us to this, this place. So the reason why we're dealing with it in this lifetime, because, we've been taught this situation by our guardians in past lifetimes, you know what I'm saying? So you could just, as a whole, put this on the guardians, or the parents, so to speak. As a matter of fact, and with this being said, as I'm speaking on what I'm speaking on, to all the people, if you're a parent right now, or you planning on being one, or you're just not yet, but eventually it may happen, just peep game and take heed to what I'm about to speak on, because you are gonna be responsible for creating somebody's shadows, or lack thereof. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how, which of course this is a situation where we new to this vibe, but either way, I was gonna say, like, we new to teaching, outside of the vibe that we was always taught, you know what I'm saying? But we have to move away from it nonetheless. But basically how the parents create the shadows by teaching us right and wrong, you know what I'm saying? Whenever we are taught, like from a little baby, you're born, and for one, at an early stage, you don't even know the no language, whether it's English, Spanish, Portuguese, whatever, Japanese, Chinese, like, you don't know nothing. Like, matter of fact, you just being, matter of fact, showing you how all, is the same until it gets programmed by a certain energy. But you're born and all you know is just, just going with what you feel. Like, I feel hungry. I want to play with this. Like, it's no words in essence of just being and doing, you know what I'm saying? Until the parents start implementing things into our psyche. And one of the first things that, one of the first, in essence, things that, I would say devastating, because, it's all a learning experience, but, like the first thing they created within us that kind of threw us off on a spiritual level is the vibe of right and wrong, or good and bad, desired behavior and undesired behavior. Oh, you a good boy for this and that, or bad, you shouldn't have done that, you know what I'm saying? That dynamic, creates that, that, in essence, what I was gonna say, the shadow self. I'm about to get into how it creates the shadow self exactly, but where was I? Apologies, y'all. It's probably a lot of Mercury energy, airy in the head, trying to process these things without going too fast. I just spoke to the teachers right from my two, using my little notes and stuff, which I spoke to that. Sometimes I gotta buckle down on reading my own stuff, But basically, when you're taught right or wrong or desired behavior, it basically establishes a fear, in essence, of, will I disappoint? Because now I know that mom thinks that this is good. Mom and dad, or dad sees this is good. Mom sees this is good. So I know that, damn, if I do this, they're gonna see this as bad. You know what I'm saying? And then say, for instance, you happen to do it, whatever bad considered, then you'll grow up, with resentment or like with some shame or some guilt, you know what I'm saying? Like almost on some you know, hating yourself or judging yourself, you know, because you're not fulfilling. Because too is also has to do with identity, you know what I'm saying? So basically, the ego is also created, you know, with the vibes of, you know, good or bad, this and that. Because then you fall into identity, and that furthers the situation. We're bringing back full circle again. So, you know, with the good or bad being established, you know, now it creates that vibe of like, all right, I know the behaviors that my parents desire, and I know the ones that they don't. And so instead of a parent, so say for how you know the shadow self, the example of how the shadow self could be stopped in this learning lesson, like instead of a parent being like, well, this good or bad or this and that, like, hey, we on this earthly plane we have experiences. It's no good or bad, right? You know, right or wrong or none of this. You know, like, and it's just guidance. You know, like, hey, don't do that. Not that it's good or bad, but just, you know, don't do that. You know, or whatever the case may be. And when you and say for instance, when telling them not doing it, and it's not like, hey, and when I say don't do it, it's not because I don't like it or, you know, or dislike it. You know, it's just, hey, a stove is hot. You know, like say for instance, with teaching a lesson like that, you know, it's like, you know, hey, stove is hot, you know what I'm saying? It ain't, you know, it's just teaching in that neutral aspect of just letting them know like it's about their own experience, and, you know, like not trying to implement so much of what your vibe of good and right and wrong is, as much as you should guide them to just have their own experience, like how you spiritually grew to learn, you know, that is about having your own experience and not about no right or wrong or good or bad, or, you know, like how those vibes create that insanity of duality and going against yourself. Because that's why you have shadows, because it's an aspect of, you know, repressed energy of like undesired behaviors, you know, pushed to the side because, you know, mama, parents, society say this isn't desired behavior, like this is bad, so I'm gonna push this to the side, you know, and never deal with this thought or this feeling or this aspect of myself ever again, you know. And then it turns into a shadow that isn't going anywhere, like, you remember me, you know what I'm saying, to come back for you. Now, also with the good and bad established, you know, so say fin, you know, with the good and bad identity, because say for instance, if a parent sees this is good, or, you know, it's good to be a lawyer, you know, it's bad to be a truck, a trash driver, you know what I'm saying, it's good to be this, it's bad to be, you know. So as the parents still implementing those ideas of, you know, desired behavior and what's good and bad, you know, that's in essence how you fall into the identity you want to pick, you know what I'm saying, with the desired behavior that your parent, that by going with the behavior that your parents desire, in essence, you know what I'm saying. And we're picking, and then two, so outside of just creating good or bad, right and wrong, by having an identity, you know, mixed with the aspect of right or wrong, good and bad, it creates more insanity, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, having to deal with nationality, your occupation, and religion. Now, so say for instance, you're dealing with all these identities. Over here, I'm a good worker, quote unquote, but I'm a bad mother. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's because you're trying to hold on to the identity of what a worker is or what a mother is, you know. Now you're creating some aspects of, you know, well, I'm a bad mother, or I'm a good mother, or I'm a good worker, I'm a bad worker. You know, you create more of that dual insanity within being in the identity, you know. And again, you also create with that good and bad vibe of an identity, you know, here comes the stress. The stress or the anger or the resentment of not living up to the identity that you hold yourself, you know, up to, you know, whether it be again a religion, you know, occupation or nationality, you know, those are all identities. And when you're holding on to the rights and wrongs of these identities, you know, create more stress, more confusion, in essence, and more of the shadow self. More of the, like, oh, being great, like consider yourself to be a good worker, but a bad mother, and it's like, damn, but so you repress, the energy, like, or not even say repressing it, just off of the vibe of feeling like you are a bad mother or a bad father, then you create, because again, it's not even just about the guardians, even with the parents, with their identities. You as a parent, you creating stress and create, a lower vibration and negativity within yourself, because you believing that there's a bad and a good to the way you operate. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you think there's a bad and a good to the way you operate, then you're constantly gonna have like these shortcomings and feeling sad or bad about certain things. Matter of fact, sad and bad. You know what I'm saying? Because of that whole situation. Matter of fact, and yep, and with our identities, it basically comes just more situations for us to be judged as good or bad when we identify ourselves, compared to when we don't have no identity. So it's like, of course, we be in our unique soulful self, but it's not identifying with our soulful self as it's just this template. Like, nah, it's, it is. It's ever changing, it's being, what I'm saying, compared to a certain identity where, if I cross this certain line, well, now I'm being a bad this or that, or now I'm being a good this or that. So that creates, further judgment. And matter of fact, again, also that's where the shadows exist from too, because the shadow self is a part of yourself that you judged as bad. You know what I'm saying? You judged it as like, oh, this ain't desired behavior, society don't, so you judge it and you put it to the side, because once the judgment is established, you start to feel guilt and shame for not fulfilling your expected identity. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, I feel guilt or shame, man. I ain't been going to church the way, the way the template of the identity say I should go to church. So I'm feeling kind of sad. The template of what they say a mother should be, the identity of it, you start to judge yourself and you start to create these, again, this negative energy, which in essence will turn into shadows when repressed and not addressed, when not faced. You know what I'm saying? So in essence, again, our shadow selves start off with the parenting vibes of being told right or wrong, good or bad, that whole aspect, creates that inner judgment. Once that starts, now it's like, now you're judging yourself, which is a situation that the Capricorns got bad in essence. It's that judgment, feeling guilty for nothing. But that's where that whole vibe in essence stems from. It's from the establishment of, matter of fact, saint or sinner, good versus evil. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, you are saint and sinner. You are good and evil. You are all of this. You know what I'm saying? And there's no right or wrong. It's just, being in your experience. Like that's it in essence. But just basically wanted to share, that template of how that. So as a parent, not to be, overly on the right. This is right. This is wrong. Just teach them about the experience of things. Without we try to find better words instead of right or wrong. Like, this is beneficial to this aspect of yourself. Like, this is beneficial to your soul. You know what I'm saying? This is this is beneficial to your body, but not as beneficial to your soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, so with that being said, like, there's no wrong or right. Like, this is the right way to deal with your flesh. No, this is the right. No, like, nah, this little thing is beneficial. This is maybe unbeneficial. You know, and I'm using beneficial, unbeneficial for lack of a better word, because again, this English language with these spells, it become, you know, it's a little. You got to be nice to dance around, you know, the words and the little meanings behind them and stuff like that. But you know, just as we're teaching the kids, you know, kind of allowing them, just like the teachings of how we teaching, you know, ourselves in essence, just no good and bad, no right and wrong. Only just different experiences, you know, point blank, period. So as a parent, you know, that's the vibe you want to be on to prevent, you know, creating all this shadow and repressed energy inside, you know, inside the children by creating this right and wrong, good or bad, you know. Don't play with the toys right now. Bad, you're bad for doing that, you know, that's a bad thing, you know, like, it's no bad or good. Like, that's the whole gist of the insanity in essence is identity, you know, and especially identity with identifying things as good and bad. But identity in itself, you know, the ego is should be tamed and used on a healthy you know, just the healthy purpose of making sure I take care of my physical being. You know, you gotta be able to be, you know, like the number one, the Aries energy, like me, you know, like taking care of myself, you know, like of course you gotta have an ego enough to, you know, be like, there's a certain part of selfishness that's required for survival in essence, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the part of the ego that ain't nothing wrong with that, you know what I'm saying? But is anything extra outside of that part though, you know what I'm saying? That's when it's becoming that identity that holds you into this matrix and keeps you away from really having that, you know, that full self-realization. And also speaking on shadows too in general, always remember that it's always about embracing shadows, not running from. If it's a certain situation that you might have got molested as a little kid, or you know, shot at or shot somebody or whatever the case may be, and it, you know, and it got like shadow, like you're running away from it, you know, you gotta face those energies, you know. And even down to, I say a lot of big heavy things, but even down to something as simple as dealing with your procrastination, you know, the shadow self of, you know, something as simple as that, you know. One, you gotta love that, whatever aspect of your shadow, you gotta love it, you know, because it's a part of you regardless, and accept it because it's a part of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like not accepting it is just gonna create, you know, again, what we focus on grows. So if you focus on not accepting something, it's just gonna create more of what you're not accepting. You know, like the law of attraction is like just the way the universe works in that area. It's like clockwork. It's like it's a certain template, you know, and you either vibe with it and know how it works, or you don't get the desired results you're looking for. Point blank, period. But I digress. Peace, y'all. Happy now. Now's the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now and again, just remember, you know, staying away from being heavy in those right and wrong vibes, you know. There's no right or no wrong, you know. My father passed away, you know. Oh, that's bad, well, you know, nah, because for one, people do have to transition, you know what I'm saying. Two, you know, he, in the situation he was in, he's definitely in a better situation now. And three, I don't know what 3 is, but you get the gist of the situation, you know what I'm saying? There's no it's no good or bad, you know. just all experience. Oh, what I was gonna say for three, because I was in the midst of clowning, I forgot that quick. You know, the third thing, you know, like my father transitioning, it was the catalyst for me, you know, spiritually awakening and being at the point I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? So it's all on how you look at things. You know,